Chairperson of the Trade and Industry Committee, Joan Fubbs, says the bill will change the economic landscape of South Africa and will benefit all people from the top to the bottom. Now, Joan is in studio to unpack the bill. Joan, good morning, welcome.
Thank you very much, and morning to you, Sam.
Let's talk about this bill and how it's going to benefit people, Joan.
Well, it's a great bill. Once it becomes an act, you'll actually find that the cost of credit will drop, 1. 2, the so-called blacklist will become history. And 3, it won't cost you a fortune to get your name removed and to ensure that once you've settled your debts or you've made these arrangements, that information is not going to remain on the books. And you can actually get a job then.
That is such an interesting point for me, John, because, I mean, that blacklist or those things that have been kind of put in place to kind of maybe punish people that have not been able to pay their bills for a myriad of reasons, whether it's life changes, whatever it may be. Why now? Why are we changing those things now? What have we seen with people that we needed to change and implement this bill?
The cost of credit, as I said, has just increased. But secondly, it's created a whole population of indebted people to the point where people it's become such a burden, they can barely put food on the table. And this impaired debt is created because of such reckless lending. No affordability checks, simply, would you like to take a loan? Full stop. It's only when you find it difficult to pay back, retrenchments, the economic climate, that suddenly you find yourself in a virtual prison for which you can't get out.
For me, the next question leads to administration of this bill and how we're going to make sure that this bill is administered and how are we going to get that information out to people?
Well, look, the department itself, the Department of Trade and Industry, is doing what we call road shows around the country. And of course, SABC TV is running these programs, and this empowers people. But all of the MPs, MPLs, councillors are also going to be briefing people in their constituencies. But even more, the lenders will not be allowed by law to act recklessly and will be obliged to say and have printed in their banking rooms, financial rooms, these are your rights.
The unsecured lending market is performing incredibly well. I mean, and we have to be honest too that this market seems to adapt and change as new regulations and laws are passed. Are we sure there's not going to be another loophole? The lenders are not going to find another way to get to that market that this bill is now trying to prevent them access to?
Well, look, let us never doubt the creativity of the human spirit, especially those in the lending field. They always become incredibly creative. However, this does address a number, and I would say most of the cracks that have developed. And I think working hand in hand with Treasury is going to be a great help to work together as regulators so that one can identify these dangers long before one has to undertake post-mortem of debt. So I think what will happen is people will be encouraged, lenders as well. Look, you can no longer continue to behave in this reckless manner, 1, because your clients will dry up. 2, the country can't take it any longer. And 3, the ordinary person, the most vulnerable, is simply going to say, I'm not prepared to pay. I am simply not prepared to pay. So it will be in everyone's interest to be responsible as they exercise their right to borrow, to lend, but also to get a clear understanding that, yes, credit is valuable, but manage.
John, I wanted to get to that point because credit is valuable. It's seen as a necessary evil in many ways. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're never going to get rid of people that need to borrow money.
Well, look, especially houses, very few people who can slap down 100, 200 or 500,000, let's be frank. And that's a long-term loan. But the smaller ones, such as retail, even food these days is bought on credit.
For sure.
We need to be able to say to those providing it, please do an affordability check
Joan, we run out of time. I'm going to have to unfortunately cut your word there, but thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure we'll pick this up as there's more efforts to make the public aware. That is the chairperson of the Trade and Industry Committee, Joan Fubbs, talking to us about the bill that has been implemented and it's been agreed upon and has been passed by the National Credit Ammendment Bill. That's what it's called, by the National Assembly recently. Let us know what you think. It's time for music.